If you want to see a very muscular, very oily, very bare bones story about revenge with a script that feels like every second paragraph was deleted without the director noticing, Suki is the movie for you. Aside from being a constant reminder that you need to get off your flabby ass and go hit the gym, Suki is a dark and gritty story about the criminal justice system, but which doesn't seem to be able to settle on a coherent message despite all the fantastic potential that it had. The film was mostly produced and directed by Ola Kadoto and is currently available on Prime Video. This review was ultimately the result of a decision between reviewing Funke Akindele's Finding Me and Ola Kadoso's Suki. I went with Suki because, it's a more direct story that I could follow more easily than Finding Me, which was almost 3 hours long and which I found incoherent in many places. Alright then, let's get to it. I am hoping that this will not be a long review, but let's see how we do. We are introduced to Adigun, played by Tobi Bakare, a local boxing trainer who is always guiding, even in his sleep, along with his young son, the titular character Suki or Sukomi, who is, of course, in awe of his father's skills in underground boxing and fight training. So much that he sometimes skips schools and jumps fences to watch his father fight. These two are usually able to make ends meet through winnings from local fights and have a generally good relationship, which subsequently becomes a bit strained when Sukomi figures out that his father sometimes actually loses on purpose in order to win bets for a criminal network and therefore gets paid more money, which, if you think about it well and if you've seen the original Daredevil, is basically the exact same thing with the opening sequence of Daredevil, down to the father changing his mind at the last moment in order to win a fight that he was supposed to throw. While Tobi Bakare was still taking falls for money, Sukomi realizes this and brings it to the attention of his father. And, Adigu goes, there's this whole new proverb about what the elders can see sitting down, the child can. Bro, you are just a criminal. What are you talking about? Nobody needs to climb any tree to see that you have thrown your fights and that you are just a criminal, like the people that you are working for. But despite all the high-sounding proverbs, in the next fight, Adigu prepares to take the fall, and he catches sight of his son's face and then changes his mind, defeating his opponent and causing his bankrollers, that's the criminal network who had placed bet on him, to lose out on the bet. This, of course, does not go down well with criminals, and Adigu is murdered in front of his son. I was a little surprised since I actually thought that Tobi Bakare would be either the main character or take more of a lead role. I didn't watch the any trailer about this movie. I saw it completely by accident on Prime, so I didn't realize that Tobi Bakare would not be the main character. Suki moves in with his uncle and aunt, I think. I don't know. I don't think the movie actually mentions who they are, but he stays with them until he grows all big and strong like his father too. So much that if you see this guy's shoulder muscles, like his shoulder muscles have shoulders on them. The lawyer uncle is hard on the heels of the criminal network that was responsible for Adigu's death. So hard, in fact, that he gives TV interviews on this weird TV station that doesn't have any logo, calling out the kingpins and promising to catch them within 3 months. Well, if you have worked with criminals before, I'm not saying I have, dear listeners, they don't take kindly to being threatened by people who are not holding guns. The Ajay gang attacked the family in the middle of the night and murdered the lawyer and his pregnant wife, unaware that Sukomi is present, sleeping. He happens upon them and is knocked unconscious and then later framed for the murder that had already occurred. He is arrested by the police and sent to this prison that seems to have a large budget for baby oil to rub on the inmates in order for them to showcase their muscles, along with a psychotic chief warden with little regard for life who kills some prisoners for attempting to escape. This is basically our intro to his character. Hello dear viewer, I am currently editing the video and I realized that I have been saying warden all this while for the chief warder. Sorry, that was a mistake. I meant to say warder, not warden. Yeah, yikes. Okay, back to the show. I also really liked the soundtrack in this place. Really liked it. Conveniently for our story and for our hero's antecedents and history, we come to find out that the prison has a sort of tradition for underground fighting, superintended by the chief warden himself, under the direction of a politician on the outside who usually gambles on the outcome. And for this movie, the politician is played by Femi Adebayo. The warden is later informed by the senator patron that our baby oiled Suki was a witness to the Ajay gang murder of his uncle and auntie, and is asked to make him very dead, which begs the question, so why not kill him at the scene of the crime? Oh, okay, well, actually, it makes sense that they would give him a bad name in order to hang him later. At least it deflects investigation into the actual cause of the murder of the lawyer and the aunt. Okay. So the warden tries to comply, but he's impressed by Suki's ability to hold his own down in the fight, especially against the people that were sent to kill him. So he decides to call up that criminal mastermind and tries to and begs to buy Suki's life and use him as a personal champion for his underground fight. For most of this movie, for me, it's always how Suki shines like an angel, even in the middle of the night with half of the prison's supply of coconut oil. In the prison, Suki also meets this prison doctor, Dr. Simisola, the unrequited love interest of the psychotic prison warden, who is also somehow not allowed to leave this prison. This prison actually operates like its own sovereign country. I mean, the doctor is a civil servant, right? So how can the chief warden order her shot if she tries to leave? This was something that was not made at all clear. How exactly the politics or the thing in this movie works. Which, okay, well, don't worry, I'll get back to this in the verdict. I don't want this stuff to be too long. After being saved by the director of the prison, Suki is sort of enrolled into the prison fight school or something. So basically, he also doesn't have to sleep on the floor like all the other poor inmates. He was upgraded to bunk beds, and they even have like their own dining hall or something upstairs. He later overhears that the reigning champion may soon be released if he wins some certain fight, and gets it into his head that he too can be released if he fights well. He's not very good against the other fighters, so he begs some fight trainer in his former cell to train him. So while I'm watching this thing, every now and then I am a bit taken aback by a sudden plot point or something. Like, for instance, the ease with which he was put into this prison. I'm not exactly sure how he actually got here. And then this whole escape being released if he wins fight. So are you winning the fight? How are you being released? Did they just let you go? Were you not sentenced? Who can decide when you should be released? So this kind of thing is confusing me, and it really made a lot of the writing weak for me, because there were just some things that the director or the writer just assumed that I would take in stride. But I went to school. I have a thinking faculty. I don't know how I should. I know you are building your own world here, but what the hell are you talking about, man? There seems to be an inter-prison match fight coming up, and it's either between him or Igemu, the reigning champion of this his own prison, whose name we never actually find out. The two finally fight in the rain, but you wouldn't even know it with all the baby oil that was moving the water aside. It was not a super well choreographed fight, but it ends up with Suki winning at the very last moment. The prison director is pleased with this and gets his political godfather, the senator, to back Suki for the main inter-prison death match. The senator, as Femi Adebayo, reluctantly agrees, and well, is rewarded when Suki also wins that match, and then it's celebration time. The prison director provides the fighters with women and beer, and the whole party inside the prison. Like, this is a prison, right? I'm honestly never quite sure sometimes. Like, I keep thinking, was this guy sentenced here, or is he awaiting trial? Like, what is he doing here? Is it like SARS or what? Unfortunately, the movie missed a really big chance to shed some light on either our alien justice system or the plight of prisoners. I don't know, it all seemed like a very rough boys' hostel after a while, and not like an actual prison. There is a side story between him and Dr. Simisola, who sort of believes that he is capable of better things than joining this bunch of murderers to fight and pummel themselves to death. Every now and then he runs into her, and sometimes he sees her being denigrated by the prison director. I wouldn't say that there are any romantic feelings between them, but perhaps a sense of kinship, like two people trapped against their will in a prison that is fashioned by others, I guess. There's even a whole subplot about a bird that was trapped in the cage on the window, but I won't get into that. We later see a montage of him winning fights, all very nicely bloody and oily and feral. We even at some point see the sledgehammer who killed his father accompany one of the Ajay kingpin to some of the fights, and we get the obligatory romantic side eye between the two. After this fight, Suky can't seem to concentrate because of Sledgehammer and has to be beaten into shape by his trainer. Again, there was a bit of weakness in the writing here because I know he saw Sledgehammer, but I just didn't buy the after fight mental anguish that he was going through. I don't know how to say it, but sometimes you're watching this and you completely forget the plot of the thing, like that there was a point, right? I don't know. You really have to watch it to understand what I mean. The prison director has a lot riding on Suky for his next match, which then happens to be with Sledgehammer, which nobody also really mentions until later. So for me, the Sledgehammer just came up in the fight like all of a sudden, right? Because I didn't even know that he was a fighter until that moment. Like I said already, that's my problem with a lot of the story writing in this film. It's a bit too loose, and I frequently forget what the point is. For instance, I never mentioned that the warden, the prison director, had political ambitions. Quite vague something about trying to help the poor. I don't know. You can just give the poor money. What programs are you talking about? Is it as a senator, as the permanent secretary? What kind of politician is that? And Femi Adebayo, his benefactor on the outside, also makes fun of him. So, yeah. For me, it was a very weak storyline. I don't know. It didn't make much sense to me. Now, angry with this condescension from the senator, he turns round and then asks Suky to lose the match against Sledgehammer to teach the senator a lesson. And I'm here wondering, lose as in how? What are you talking about? It's a death match. It's a death match, isn't it? Like, if you lose, then you die. Did the writers forget the stakes? Yes, I think that's the word I've been looking for a while. The writers never seem to realize the enormity of the stakes in front of Suky at any point in time. How does Suky losing to Sledgehammer benefit Suky or even the prison director? Sure, he promised to release the doctor as Suky had begged him before, but that hardly seems like a good enough payment for, dying at the hands of the person who killed your father. Also, the prison director doesn't benefit by causing his benefactor anguish and financial loss. He will still remain a prison director and not whatever political thing that he wanted. So is it like a scorched earth policy? So anyway, things get to a head when the prison director finally threatens the doctor's life, letting Suky realize that he really has no choice in this matter. It's finally match day, and after some cliche story beats with Sledgehammer taunting him loudly and beating him up, Suky waits until his trainer has managed to rescue the doctor from her imprisonment before launching his own attack and killing Sledgehammer. He then loudly informs the political people, including the senator present, that the warden had planned for him to lose against Sledgehammer so that the senator would lose his money. Well, of course, Femi Adebayo is not happy about it. In the very next scene, the warden is brought into the prison as a prisoner. I mean, it sounds nice for poetic justice, but how exactly does that work? He's not a random person, right? He's the prison director. So how do you get the prison director into a prison without him having committed a crime? Did it all happen on the outside? How did he write it that he even came back to his own prison? So is it like an actual prison, or is just a hellhole for the police people? They should really, really have built that part up, and it made me mad that it didn't, because all it needed was just a few lines of dialogue, and everybody would understand. Which is why I felt at the beginning that it's like this thing. Every second paragraph was missing from the script, and the director didn't notice. I just kept filming it. I know Nigeria is bad, but not so bad that the prison director would become a prisoner in his own prison with no court, no accusation, no nothing. Like, how does that even happen? I mean, even Bakare in Nigeria had to be framed first. Ha. Anyway, so that is how the movie actually ends. This review has actually gone longer than I wanted, but let's look at the verdict. So, in general, it's not a bad movie. It's disappointing not because the story is bad, just that it had so much potential and it just pissed me off because I like the sound track sometimes. I didn't really like the sound during the fight. There was some old ADR. I didn't like the way they overlaid the sound, but it looked gritty. I liked the main character, the actor, because he always had this silent condescension about him. He had this very brooding. I really liked him. Really muscular guy. He really fit the role perfectly. Very taciturn, not at all talkative, but he was very much let down by the story, right? I'm not here to see Mozu. I know where the gym is. So I would have liked to see something more interesting as a story. The story is not fleshed out at all. It's just like you are reading the bare bones of a script that someone forgot to actually flesh out, unfortunately. If I were going to give Suky a score, I would give it a maybe 2.7 over 5. It gets some points for effort, to be honest, but it's just a bit disappointing that the thing was let down by a lack of an actual story. Also, finally, I think I would lay some of the blame for how incoherent the story looked on the editing. I think they could have definitely done some more work with the editing to make the story feel a bit tighter because I just felt sometimes that some scenes were just put there or were just skipped out sometimes. So it didn't feel very straightforward. Okay, that will be all for me from this review. If you enjoy my channel and this sort of reviews, I would appreciate if you give me a follow at Ekwe Reviews on Instagram and Twitter and Ekwe.reviews on TikTok. Thank you.